Former Vice President Joe Biden is accusing President Trump of being up to no good, saying this, and I quote, "This president is going to try to indirectly steal the election by arguing that mail-in ballots don't work. They're not real. They're not fair." Well, let's talk about it. Martha, as you well know, we're almost 100 days out from the election, and 6 weeks from now, voters will begin to cast their ballots. You know a lot about voting, I'm sure. Why is vote by mail such a bad thing when it's what Republicans and some Democrats have always urged Americans to do? That is to get their ballots in early so that people can, just get it out of the way for Election Day.
Well, I would go back, Donna, to the night that you and I spent at the Iowa caucuses waiting for those decisions to come in and the difficulty with the software on the app. And you move forward into a very difficult primary season where there were problems in California. There was also, of course, everything got pushed back from the primaries. So the likelihood that we're going to have an extremely complicated election night that might turn into an election week or potentially even longer than that, I think is pretty good. So on that layer, I think there's legitimacy in questioning how this is all going to work. We've never done an election in the middle of a pandemic like this, and that's uncharted territory. I think there's good reason to be concerned. On the other hand, you've got very strong rhetoric coming from Joe Biden this week, calling the president a racist and now saying that he's going to indirectly try to steal the election. And one of the things just politically as an observer I see in that is that he's sensing this shift that is happening right now in the Trump campaign. There's a more realistic tone that has come into the campaign with regard to the virus. They have a new campaign manager. They've instituted these daily briefings. There's a sort of a palpable shift and very tough to maintain the kind of lead that Joe Biden has right now. And I think he senses that it's time to sort of, go for the gut in this moment to make sure that he can try to hold on to and keep that lead strong.
Well, Katie, as someone who knows a little bit about grassroots politics and understand the political landscape, what can state and local officials do to ensure the integrity of our elections? As you well know, we have a decentralized form of government, which means that our elections are held at the state and local level. It's not a federal election. It is held technically at the state and local level. So what can they do?
That is true, which is why the claims of Russians hacking the national election were ridiculous in the first place. But you're right, these things do take place at the local level. They've been getting ready for the presidential election since the last presidential election that we saw, and they can institute the same social distancing measures that they are instituting in schools locally, that they've instituted for months at places like grocery stores. And in terms of mail-in ballots, if they really want to go to that kind of model and send registered voters mail-in ballots to return, well, they better make sure that their voter rolls are cleaned up, meaning that they don't have people who have passed on or moved still on those rolls, because especially if you don't have any kind of voter ID or verification system, then that causes all kinds of problems. And we've seen just recently in local elections, you have mail-in ballots being changed from Democrat to Republican. This doesn't just affect Republicans. You have hundreds of ballots going uncounted, and now you have the post office saying, well, this is going to be a problem because there's going to be an influx of mail and a delay. And so, there are many, many issues and many instances and examples of fraud when it comes to mass vote-in ballots, which is why the president is concerned about it.
Well, you and I could talk about Russian hacking attempts in our state election systems at another time. But, Greg, do you think the Postal Service can ramp up before November to make sure that these ballots are not only processed and given to the election officials to count, especially given the fact that the post office might be running out of money come September?
Wait a second. The post office is running out of money? I thought they were expertly, efficiently run. Somebody... Maybe that should tell us something about the post system. Look, I'm for mail-in voting because I'm naturally lazy. I don't like to wait in lines. I think it's a good thing. I think we don't. I don't think we want to like completely demonize this thing because it helps everybody. So maybe just a closer eye. I'm more worried about Joe. I mean, every thought in his head these days is not his own. It's like he's just a slobbering echo of something you already heard. So you heard this story, but like weeks before, and now it's coming to him. He's like a really bad parrot that repeats stuff that he hears on grandma's radio. You know, he just keeps repeating it, and he doesn't really have any original thoughts. So I think I am looking forward to the debate. That's what I want. And I want to ask you, Donna, is there going to be one? Is there going to be a debate? That's what I want to know.
In fact, Greg, there will be three debates. So you'll have a great opportunity to have a wonderful night of popcorn, beer, and wine. Hey, Jesse, how do you intend to vote this fall? Are you going to vote by mail? Are you going to stand in line? Or just tell me, what's your plan? Have you made plans yet?
I don't discuss who I vote for and how, Donna. That's a sacred right of mine as an American citizen. So, but I'm not sharing it with you either.
Are you planning to vote? Let me just ask that question. Will you vote this fall, Jesse?
Yes, I will vote as much as I can.
No, that's illegal, Jesse.
Just kidding, America.
That is illegal.
Just kidding.
That's
But I'll tell you
illegal.
what, Donna, I'm not getting the post office involved. You know what I mean? Like, anybody who thinks getting the postal service involved in an election hasn't been paying much attention to the postal service. Go to a post office one day or send something into the mail and see how long it takes to get there. I want to know who won the election the night of the election. I don't want to have to wait to December to find out Trump won.
Well, let me just say this. We may
Donna,
not know the night
did you
of
see
the
what the
election,
post
but we'll
office said?
figure it out. I love the post office.
Did you see what the post office said in this memo? They said, you know, we may see mail get left behind or on the workroom floor or on the docks, which is not typical. That's what they're saying already.
That's why we need to provide them with the resources.